to invite to the stage Huma Aslam. She is the moderator for your next session, Women in Tech, which I will also be participating in. So I'll give the mic to, you can keep this one. You want me in the middle? Go ahead and invite the rest members. Okay, perhaps I will do that. Kate, come on up. And Alicia, where are you? Is everyone's mic up? It's on.
Hello?
Hello, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here today with these powerful individuals, and let me introduce them to you. First, I'll introduce Alicia Emming, and she...
Closer.
Thank you. Alicia Emming. She is a founding member of Envision U, which is disrupting education and digital entrepreneurship. She's also the CMO of Gorilla, which is a green chip NFT project. Next, we have Dr. Usha
Srinivasan, yes.
Thank you. No problem. And she is the executive director at the Brampton Ventures Zone, which is run by TMU, and she has held many executive leadership positions at the Mars Innovation District. Next, we have Dr. Kate Withers, who is a co-founder of Functionland, and she's also the director of partnerships. And so what Functionland is revolutionizing cloud storage. It's so wonderful. And a little bit about myself. My name is Aslam. I am the founder of FIPA, which is a fashion innovation and design agency. I've had a pretty cool career in traditional fashion design, and I am now moving into smart clothing design. So friends, right before the pandemic, I was working on my collection. The pandemic hit, everything shut down, right? Retail, supply chains, most brands, especially in fashion, we had no way to connect to our consumers except for e-commerce. That was the only channel for us. We had to quickly innovate. There was a fire under us. We had to quickly find ways to connect with our supply chain, connect with our clients, and not only connect with them, but we had to engage them on a deeper level, because now with everyone having an online presence, we were just swimming in a massive sea of brands. So how do we engage people? And we found that we needed to connect through more immersive exchanges. We needed to, thank you. And so that really forced the fashion industry to adopt more innovation towards Web3. And here we are. And so I'm curious, how did the pandemic impact your industries? What were the benefits?
For myself, I just found that learning a new skill during that pandemic period was very, very important. And then having conversations with so many of my friends, a lot of females in particular, we all needed to pivot in some way. And for me, education has always been, a very large part of my life. My husband and myself, we have been self-educating for a very long time. We've been entrepreneurs for a very, very long time, whilst holding down jobs in the telco space as well as the software space. So we're very well connected in those spaces. And what we thought we could do while we were learning about cryptocurrencies and we were learning about the space, NFTs and the metaverse and all of that, we went down a few rabbit holes. And we did a lot of trial and error. And the good thing that came out of that is that we realized that there wasn't a very big platform for learning in that space. And so we came upon a company by the name of Envision U, who we are founding members of, and we recently launched in the last month. And we've been having tremendous success in that area because there aren't a lot of companies that actually teach in the Web3 space and like formal education. So the reason we were attracted to it is because the experience that we had was a lot of trial and error and back and forth. And now with this education platform, we could bring people on board and get them from start to finish and certified at the end of a year. So the skill set that we've developed along the way, now we can help people to become digital entrepreneurs. We can help people to create new jobs for themselves. I myself personally in this space have found it a little bit of a difficult road sometimes, with learning the whole Web3 space, because it's complex, and I really need it broken down for me. So having that platform to be able to learn really has been a big help for me, and that's how I was able to come upon the Gorilla project. So just learning in the space has propelled me into career opportunities for myself if I want to. So I want to encourage that for other females and for everybody else as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. Anyone else have something to share?
Sure, I'll just add, I think for Functionland, we had been building for a long time, and when the pandemic hit, we went to our homes and just continued to build there. Maybe some of the devs kept going to maybe on a 24/7 cycle, maybe not healthy. I think though it did force us to go and raise our first seed round and look at global investors as well and VCs instead of trying to get those in-person meetings, in people's offices. So I was able to be a big part of our investment round and able to speak to VCs. And I was actually expecting twins. I was part of a very high-risk pregnancy at that time, and it never held me back that time. I could be a part of those conversations. I could pitch. I could discuss the terms. So the pandemic helped us open up a lot of global bridges and took down some barriers that I hadn't really been expecting when it came to raising our first round.
Awesome, awesome.
Maybe I'll just add a slightly different perspective. As you just heard, we run a technology startup incubator here in Brampton. Now, how do you run that virtually was our challenge. And more importantly, that actually in the next first, I see one of the first cohort members sitting in the audience here. We very quickly adopted to that way of doing things virtually. What was more interesting is, I don't think our city folks are here, City of Brampton folks. Typically, when a municipality funds you, the way they think about economic development is there are bums and seats in the office. There's 40 people coming in, they're buying coffee, they're buying lunches and parking their cars. That's how they think about economic development. I really had to help them shift their thinking to say, listen, these people, they're building solutions to impact the industries in Brampton, and they become competitive, and as a result, you're driving economic growth in a different way. So you have to almost be intentional about when you're building a virtual kind of a place when people are not from Brampton perhaps, but they're influencing the industry. So that's a different take on how I felt the pandemic had affected the way we were talking about economic development.
Amazing. Well, speaking of impact, the United Nations 17 SDG Sustainability Development Goals. Now, how do you think Web3 will help us achieve these goals?
I'll take that. So the 5 industry sectors that we focus on, a lot of them are, first of all, I'm assuming people in the room are familiar with the SDG goals. Show of hands. Most of you are. So there are 17 goals. Everything from hunger, poverty, to education, etc. Obviously, the level in which it affects different countries vary. Where we are in Canada is very different from where we are in Haiti versus whatever. Regardless, they are hyper-local problems. One of the reasons we established our startup incubator to be a purpose-driven incubator is to focus on hyper-local issues. We still have community health and issues in the Brampton region. It is soon to be a 900,000 population municipality in 2030, I believe, and there's only one hospital, for example. There are a lot of aging population aging at home, and there's not enough long-term care facilities for housing them. So there are many issues like that. If you are from Brampton, you also know that we have the highest incidence of type 2 diabetes. Not a good thing to have, not to be proud of, but that's just in health. Similarly, we are the logistics hub. If you probably saw we were at the center of the epidemic, you know why? Everybody that worked in Brampton had to show up so that the rest of us can order on Amazon and get food on the table. They didn't have a choice. they had to be here. So a lot of times there's a criticism about why was there so much pandemic exaggeration here in Brampton. That was the reason. So with all of that, there are opportunities to solve for those issues in logistics or in health, and we're going to be we're in food sustainability. We're going to be soon in the music entertainment space, because that's also very prominent here. I'm really excited about how metaverse or the combination of all of this could potentially affect those industries. In all honesty, I can see the direct correlation with entertainment, so easy to see that, and training, but I am yet to really see how is it going to affect biotech specifically. How is that going to make things easier in that space? Or food security? I don't know the answer. Maybe some people here are smarter than me, can tell me that, yeah, there is a way. I see a whole bunch of amazing people with technology, but you know what? The reason I participated in this event is I want to bring these two very disparate groups together. There are a bunch of people talking about technology over here, people over here trying to solve problems. Bring them together to make things happen. So I'm being honest. That's how I see it.
Thank you.
Could I build on what she said, and then
Please.
Alicia? So with Functionland, people say, why are you building hardware? Why are you even trying to build in the blockchain? Our developers set out, our founders, who happen to be developers, and myself, set out to monetize open source development. We were building products, or our developers were having these contracts at night to try to put food on the table, when really they were contributing to the most insanely amazing open source projects. These lines of code are used in software that we use in commercial and industrial practices today, and there's no recognition or flow back to them. So that's where we started, and that's how we got to hardware and everybody becoming a self-hoster. But lastly, also data ownership. I mean, you said some of these problems are hyper-local. How do you go fix agriculture in the Horn of Africa? You can't just translate technology horizontally, right? But data is being mined from us as people, as businesses, as corporations. If you have a CRM, you're feeding that information to HubSpot and so forth. So I say it doesn't have to be politically motivated. Let's say if we just earned the reciprocal or proportional amount for the data that we're giving out to the world, it leads us to equity. It leads us closer to being able to earn, whether you're an open source developer or a data generator, you're able to earn in situ where you are in the world. And that's one of our missions, and we really think Web3 can help us get there, and decentralization is a very strong tenet of that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So let's flash forward to 2030. What's Web3 looking like?
I loved what you said with regards to decentralization. And I really believe that in the next couple of years, what I would love to see is more adoption in the Web3 space. And just by the education and learning first, I think is the first step. Not because, we have an education company and promoting that, but really because so many mistakes can be made, and without the right knowledge, it is going to be very difficult for a lot of people to pivot into moving from Web 2 to Web 3. So I really would love to see, a big increase in adoption, and definitely huge, big-time decentralization. And the mindset towards that is going to take a little while, but I think with more companies coming up and really understanding the space, it's very, very exciting to look forward to that.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Well, I can sort of give a vision of the metaverse, and then I think you've said, Usha, that you're not quite sure or sold on how it's this mechanism that's going to fix everything. And I really appreciate your honesty and your transparency and openness around that, because we can't just say, buy NFTs or the metaverse will save everything. So interestingly, when I've thought about this question, what does the metaverse look like? I had not the most optimistic look on what it is, visually or from an immersive standpoint. I always thought I'll work on data and compute and let's just see how it works out. And I thought, if we do achieve equity and everybody has money, disposable income that they can choose to spend, maybe we can have really amazing in real life experiences. Instead of us being in the metaverse, let's have equity, have income, and travel and see our families, right? However, I've seen some really incredible metaverse projects here today. I mean, there was that journalism one in the corner. There's one where there was just teaching real estate agents within a virtual world. So I've seen some really impressive mini metaverses right here today that really get me optimistic again. I love the education example, the double protocol we saw today. So optimistic again about the metaverse, and maybe it won't be the Zuckerberg meta, ocular version of it. I don't know yet, but I'm really excited after today.
Usha?
Yeah, I don't like to be the downer here. I'm sorry. I'm just, being honest. We are sector specific in our incubator and technology agnostic. I don't really care what technology they use, and if they end up using metaverse, so be it, as long as they're solving for the problems of my customers. And the only way they can be investable is if they actually solve a problem. So that's the kind of the dead horse that I keep, drilling down in our entrepreneurs. Be focused on the problem that you're solving. Don't get distracted with all this other stuff. But I think there's a true opportunity. The reason Kader twisted my arm and I'm part of this conference here today is we are entering into two very exciting spaces after the first three that I mentioned, in film, music and entertainment, and advanced manufacturing. And I feel like all the things we're talking about today is very relevant for that, and that's one of the reasons we're here. So not to say that I don't see the potential, obviously, yes, but there's so much from Salim's presentation, so much melding of so many technologies that have to come together for it to make sense. We have 5 minutes.
Indeed.
Just been flagged.
Thank you. Well, indeed, and it will take time, but I feel we will get there. As for the fashion industry, the future of fashion is phygital. It is, and really in many industries, but it's happening in the industry already, and definitely by 2030, we will be, having digital twins of our clothing. So you want a Gucci jacket? Well, you'll be wearing it on your avatar as well. And we all want to flex in whatever realm, whether it's the physical world or the digital world, right? We want to be able to express ourselves authentically, and I believe Web3 will help us do that. So thank you very much. Do we have any questions from the audience? Yes?
Should I go on the microphone?
Please, yes.
Huma, welcome back to Canada. Thank you for spreading your skills into our country. Usha, I'm a Bramptonian small tech company developer who has just learned how to redesign the computer to safely open and process malware-infected data files without using detection software. Is the Brampton Venture Zone interested in supporting a multi-billion-dollar industry to support my discovery?
Well, maybe not directly us, but let's talk and let's figure out how to make you launch your business in Brampton.
Love to do that.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Oh, yes, Satish? Yes, please. Would you like to? It might be better at the mic so everyone could hear. Sorry. Thank you. Is it on? Wait. Yeah. Oh. I do me back. Okay, there you go. I'm boarding the mic. That was cute.
Thank you. Kate, this is for you. I was interested in learning more about the cloud and data storage. I'm in education, doing some work in building some metaverse and things. With the current architecture of Google, Amazon, and all the space that we're used to in the traditional web world, with metaverse and all the new data that we haven't even figured out how to store, avatars, new clothing, and all these replicant things we're talking about, how does space and space management and cost of doing these new innovation play? Because we're trying to forecast expenses in a startup without really understanding space usage all of a sudden.
Yes. Yeah, no, really good question. And it's funny that you said traditional cloud and you're saying it as if that's how we've been doing it all along. It's very nascent that we took all of our ERP systems and our IoT and edge, and sensors from our advanced manufacturing, and then all of a sudden, putting it in the cloud and saying, okay, now we're going to process it. And I'm very passionate about this. I work a lot with agriculture, with farmers. They're buying all this technology just to be able to manage their own farms, and they're not able to take that data back or glean their own insights and everything like that. But so far, we are even encouraging our startups. He has an AWS Activate program. He has Google Cloud credits, and we say, go get started. It's pay as you go. It's no big deal. You'll switch later. But we call this the parable of the boiling frog when it comes to consumers. We're using Google Photos. We're using Apple. All of a sudden, we can't afford it anymore. But what options do you have, right? Same with, if you're with AWS or Azure, sounds fun, your systems are getting smarter, you're gaining those efficiencies, your shareholders are happy, but then all of a sudden those costs are mounting. Even if you're a sleeper startup that never made it, you're still getting billed to your credit card right now, every subscription you ever signed up for. So what I say is I see maybe Google, AWS saying everybody who's used advanced computing that has, let's say, storage buckets or Kubernetes or S3, there's going to be compatible ways to say, let's take that and bring it into this sort of Web3 decentralized way. But my major thing to you is, can we find a way to take that data, harvest it, and do things with it before it gets to the public cloud or the tyrannical government, whichever you choose. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
It was
you.
wonderful.